Hi, I'm Aidan Demmers and I'm here to talk about my movie Janus. Janus is really about the deep psychology of an extremely troubled person. Everyone sort of has that split, the angel and demon on their shoulder respectively, and Janus just takes that a step further. I really wanted to explore that sort of Jekyll and Hyde situation, except with a normal person who could conceivably walk by on the street. Another source of inspiration for me was a condition called repressed memory syndrome, where after traumatic events the brain literally forgets all of those memories just to protect itself. Heidi, the protagonist, her condition was really inspired by that, albeit at a much more dramatic level, which you would hope wouldn't occur in everyday life. I wanted a horror movie where the murderer has motivation other than insanity. I mean, obviously, Janus, Heidi's murderous alternate personality, isn't the most mentally stable of individuals, but in the end, his motivation is to protect Heidi. That's what he was created for, really. Why Heidi made him, almost why she became him, to protect herself. So it tells that story, the story of a girl in so much pain that her personality fractures and her psyche literally creates someone else to protect her. And yet, he does that by murdering people. I knew that Janus's plot would be a very difficult situation to portray due to its complexity. That's why I chose Heidi Scholl to play Heidi. I knew that she would be able to effectively portray her because I've worked with her before, and in doing so found her to be, as an actress, very professional, yet also very fun to work with, and obviously very talented. Hello? The casting choice I made for Alita went by much the same logic. I'd worked with Talia before and knew her to share many of these qualities. I'd worked with her actually with Heidi, so I knew that she'd be able to work well with her as well. I knew that I wanted the final, most climactic scene to be shot at a school, because in my opinion, schools are one of the creepiest places, especially when they're deserted. Plus it sort of adds to the theme of the destruction of childhood innocence, which is featured throughout the entirety of this movie. I think what makes a school out of hours so creepy is that feeling of isolation, of emptiness, where usually a school is so loud and thriving with life. So in a lot of the scenes I shot, I tried to sort of convey that with the setting choices. The beginning, for example, Alita's murder, the empty bag racks were really meant to emphasize how alone she was, how far away from any sort of help. And that one part where Heidi's in that small room, it's really meant to convey the feeling of being trapped, of the walls closing in on her, that murderer being somewhere around. Angles and shot type are definitely a really important thing to me. I think they can convey a lot. So in a lot of the shots I really try and use angles to convey the mood. When Heidi's in that room, I used a high angle to try and convey the feeling of being almost like a bug under a microscope, being watched by the as yet unseen murderer. After she realizes that she's the killer, I use low angle shots to emphasize that new feeling of power and new strength that she feels, I guess. Skewed angles, they sort of get that discordant feel, so they're in there a lot when I need that. Shot types are pretty important too, because I also had to hide the blood on Heidi's shirt for a lot of it. Most were as you'd expect from the usual mid-shot or close-up, but I also incorporated a lot of extreme close-ups on Heidi's eyes and Alita's, I guess, because I feel that eyes can portray a lot about what a character's feeling. Talia and Heidi, they're very good actresses who didn't really need that much finagling. Sure, I had to redo a few shots, get them to convey a different emotion or move different ways or say a line differently, but even then they would adjust immediately. One part where Alita screams, that really took a few tries to get right. And I sort of got Talia to do some breathing exercises, but in the end it was perfect. And screams are pretty hard to do, so I was very happy with that. So yeah, in the end they both performed really well, especially for non-professional actresses. Their portrayals of Heidi and Alita were very good. Also, it definitely has that flavour of a B-horror movie, which I was really going for, so it's great. There were a lot of jokes, a lot of laughter, and Talia was definitely very enthusiastic in her role as a clapperboard. The end product was extremely different from the original script. For one thing, the scenes had to be cut down extensively because of time management issues. Like, there was this one whole part where Heidi got a message from Janus, which I had to cut. The title was also changed. Working it was The Creepy Evil Killer Moon, which is obviously quite a mouthful and a bit too B-movie for my taste. So I thought that the Roman god of two faces, Janus, was quite appropriate considering the topic, and a little less cheesy. A lot of the lines changed, a lot of angle choices, as well as the placement and movement of the characters in general, which happens. The practical application of a script never really turns out the way you expect it to. Me as a director, personally, I think I'm really pedantic. Because of time restrictions, I had to rein that in a lot. Not being able to redo scenes as many times as I wanted, or try out as many different angles. My strengths are probably finding different angles and varying shot times. My weakness is definitely planning. I rushed into a lot of the shots, didn't really think about them too much. I didn't really think things through, consider props or placement of actresses as well as I should have. Partly that was the lack of time, but a lot of it was probably just me. If you're a student director just starting out like me, it can be very intimidating to do something like this, to actually get in and film something with actresses, you know, and to just sort of do such a big product. But it's such a great experience. You really learn a lot about yourself, both professionally and personally. And you learn so much about the process of filming. So I would definitely recommend it. And I look forward to continuing to explore the process of filmmaking. Thank you for listening.